I just wanted to make this quick follow-up video to my previous video discussing the Canadian Veterans Affairs Ministry being unable to say the word Easter in their Easter posts, instead referring to this time of year as the March holiday season. Very pathetic and sad, but what's even more pathetic and sad is the leftist reaction on Twitter to conservatives noticing what the Veterans Affairs Ministry is doing. Because apparently, if you're a conservative and you notice how ridiculous this is, that's very bad. It's actually your fault for even noticing the Veterans Affairs Ministry is super woke. And actually, you should be talking about serious issues. But if you talk about those serious issues, then it's bad that you're not talking about it in the way that liberals want you to talk about it. This is really the sign of a political movement in deep decline. Usually, your activist base are the most willing to lie and twist the truth to defend a corrupt government. But when they're not even defending the actions of the liberal government anymore, and they're more so just attacking conservatives for noticing those bad actions, is really telling about what's going on. So, what really kicked off my interest in making this video is this guy who tends to follow me around and posts and whines at me all the time on social media in response to conservative politicians and communications people noticing what the Veterans Affairs Ministry did. He posted this. It's Jason Scott, and he said, I'll post my Twitter follow up to him in the description below if you want to go see that. But he said, I wish conservative leaders in Canada would dedicate as much effort to addressing real life challenges such as poverty and homelessness as they do to fictional war on Easter. This is preposterous as it gets in Canadian politics. Pure rage baiting idiocy. Well, Jason, when conservatives actually call out real life issues like the housing policy that the liberals have been putting out that's been exacerbating the crazy housing crisis, then you also complain at them for not liking their approach to the issue. You actually don't care if conservatives take serious issues seriously. They do. You just don't like the fact that they're not leftists. So when conservatives call out leftists in the Veterans Affairs Ministry, it turns into, why are you noticing it? There's other issues you can be talking about. Well, conservatives talk about actual serious issues all the time. Tax reform, spending reform, tough on crime policies that they want implemented, cracking down on liberal government corruption. They do this all day long. And when they take a slight break from talking about those things to notice that the Veterans Affairs Ministry is run by insane people, at least in the communications department, now you're super upset about them. And this isn't just this sort of Easter issue. I see stuff like this on social media all the time. I tried to pull some generally representative samples. It's hard to kind of search up stuff like this, but I see it every single day. Social media posts like this, when conservatives talk about the carbon tax, it's actually the conservatives being a broken record for talking about the carbon tax. I can't believe they keep harping on this carbon tax issue. I wish they would just leave it alone. If that is the essence of your argument on social media, you've lost. You've lost. You can say whatever you want, especially these anonymous accounts who could just focus on any issue and argue it in any way they want, because it's not like the media is going to follow up with them. They're random people on the internet. When this becomes your argument, stop talking about it. You've clearly decisively lost. Anyways, so I had people like this responding to the Conservatives communication director, Sarah Fisher, who posted, Canadian men and women didn't sacrifice their lives to defend the principles of freedom for our government to classify Easter as March holiday season. I think a very good comment from Sarah Fisher. And this guy, John Mark Taylor, follows up to her with, people often say we're not a serious country. I usually push back, but this kind of performative rage may just prove that I'm wrong. What are you meaning performative rage? You know, it actually kind of does bother people when the federal government is so pedantically woke that they refuse to say Easter. It's a small thing that tends to point to larger issues inside the federal government. There is deep left-wing ideological corruption inside our federal government, and this was just a big demarcation of how bad it's gotten. Yes, you could say, well, it's just a couple of words. Yes, but like I said in my previous video, they would have had to have a meeting to discuss how they were going to make this post. Do you think it was just the person in social media, like the social media department of the Veterans Affairs Office, just decided on the phraseology March holiday season? No, they did not. That is the most bureaucratic term I've ever heard, and there was a meeting involved in pushing for that. And you get other people like this posting against Leslie Lewis mentioning this issue. Can Leslie Lewis explain why she is being so petty about a government department? CPC are seen as negative, harbingers. Not a good look. Propose a good policy for once, just once. I don't think the party has one. They propose them all the time, moron, but you don't actually care because you're just anti-conservative. You don't actually care about taking serious issues seriously. You just don't want conservatives getting into power. So when conservatives notice something that the liberals do that's wrong, that's not the biggest issue on the planet. This just shows the conservatives aren't serious. Maybe you guys aren't serious. I know this is not a representative of the liberal government or the left-wing movement, but it's still telling that these people attacking conservatives cannot actually point to something actually wrong the conservatives are doing, merely that they're not getting out of the way for the liberals to do whatever they want. I can't believe the opposition in Canada is opposing the government. Wow, who would have thunk that that would have happened? You know, people like this, they are including all the holidays you mentioned. What's the difference exactly? The taxpayers that fund it come from a variety of backgrounds. Okay, but this, as we've gone over, is a weekend where the only holidays currently going on are Christian holidays. Even Passover is in April this year. I'm not sure if any of these people looked it up. I can guarantee they didn't look it up because we still get posts like, not this one. But like we get posts from other people saying, well, what you don't want them to acknowledge other religious minorities? No, they can acknowledge those people all they want. I'm perfectly happy with them acknowledging any religious minorities. The thing is, in this weekend, where it was only Christian things going on, the liberal government couldn't bring themselves to acknowledge the fact that it was Easter. Even the independent senators group, which are effectively liberals on Canada Senate, the liberals just appoint independents to make it seem more independent when it's not at all. Even they put out an Easter message today. And they know that this weekend is Easter, which is why they are like wishing everyone a great Easter. This pedantic nonsense that, well, it's only Easter on Sunday. Okay, I know Good Friday is called Good Friday, but it is called Good Friday because it is part of this Easter period. There is, the death of Christ and the 3 days before he rises. It is Easter. They call Good Friday because it is the start, and Easter and the Sunday is the resurrection. So it is called Easter altogether. I don't know why I have to explain this. You only have to explain this when people are twisting themselves up in balls trying to defend the liberal government from doing something stupid. Well, it's minor, Wyatt. You shouldn't be talking about minor issues. Well, let's talk about the carbon tax. Well, shut up about the carbon tax. You guys are broken records. I find this so obnoxious. And again, I'm not even mad or anything like that. It's just tiring. Really, guys, do you think this is going to dig you out of the polls, pointing out that conservatives are making a big deal about something that's not a big deal? Well, it's only as much of a deal as people think it's a big deal. And the fact that this is trafficked around social media a lot in just under a day kind of shows that people actually kind of do care about stuff like this. When their government can't even functionally put out a good Easter message, that's sad. Sir, this was the one I wanted to talk before. This guy says, easy to ignore that this period is also very important to Jews and Muslims when you're trying to rage farm Christians. Only Christians believe they exclusively own any calendar period of their own worship. And funny that you're like complaining about other people rage farming, and then you take a weird shot at Christians somehow being like religious supremacists at the end, but nobody else is. Also, again, it's not a holiday period for Jews or Muslims because there are no holidays in this calendar year during this portion of time. When I looked up the multi-faith calendar, there was like nothing in this, like in March for anyone else. Like, yes, there's ongoing Ramadan, but you don't post about it every day. You post about it when it starts and when it ends. And so right now, the only thing going on is Easter. But stop noticing that the Veterans Affairs Ministry is calling it the March holiday season. Stop noticing it. Actually, it's technically not Easter today. Nobody in their life has ever said March holiday season. Not a single person. Let's not pretend that this was a natural, organic thing that we would have seen posted back in 2005. It's not. It's clownish. That is why people are making a big deal about it. Anyways, that should be it for me today, guys. Normal plugs. Wyatt Claypool, I'm running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. If you live out here, buy a membership. Check out my website in the description below, WyattClaypool.com. If you want to donate to mine and the TNT's legal fund, that's also in the description below in the Give, Send, Go link. Any dollars you guys can contribute to our legal fund really helps us out in these ongoing frivolous lawsuits filed against us, where 2 years later, the people trying to sue us still haven't actually provided any evidence that we've defamed them or any evidence that what we said was even factually incorrect or factually incorrect. Anyways, see you guys later. Thanks for listening to these rants, and I'll make sure I come out with another video.